So this video is going to be on subtracting with negative numbers. So the video before was on adding with negative numbers, so we're going to look at subtracting this time. So we're going to use our counters again. So remember, we had the red +1 counters and we've got the blue -1 counters. Well, if we look at my sum here, we've started with -3. We can see we've got 3 -1 counters, and we want to take away -1. So to take away -1, well, I'm going to get rid of one of these. If I had these in person, I'd pull it away from the other set. I'm just colouring it in to show that it's disappeared. So what do I have left? Well, I've got 1, 2. So -2 would be my answer to this sum. -3 take away -1. It's really important to kind of say this as a takeaway, because it helps you visualize in your head the method that I've done here of taking this out of the row of our counters. So let's have a go at this next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's where my -6 has come from, because I've got -6 on my table. And then I want to take away -3 lots of counters. So that would be 3 lots of my negative counters. So I want to take away 1, 2, 3. So I've taken away -3 there. So what do I have left? I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got -3 left. So this is one I want you to have a go at. The sum is there for you and the counters are there to help you out. So if you can pause the video, and I'm going to go through it in a couple seconds. Okay, so this one, well, the -4 is because we've got 4 -1 counters on the table, and I want to take away -2. So I'm going to take away 2 of these -1 counters, and I'm left with -2. So well done if you got that right. On this next one, we're going to look at it. It's a little bit harder. I just want you to focus where my mouse is. So up here, this calculation here, where we've got 2 subtract -1. Have a think, how could we set that out with our counters to help us represent this? Well, we're going to set it out like this. And it might be a bit weird because we've got 3 +1 counters, but we only want 2. So that could be quite confusing to start with. But when we set it out, you want to have the amount of counters you've started with, the 2, there. And remember, I'll get a different colour for this. When we had a +1 and a -1 together, that actually equaled to 0, didn't it? So adding this extra bit on doesn't change the value of this 2. This whole set of counters is still 2, isn't it? Because we've got 2 and then a 0, essentially. And because we want to take away -1, that's why I've got 1 counter, minus counter down here. You'll see how it's different on this next one in a bit. So what this allows me to do is to actually take away a minus counter, because if I just had them 2 there, I wouldn't have been able to take any minus counters away, so I wouldn't have been able to use my counters to help me. So now I'm going to take away a -1, so I'm going to take away this, and what am I left with? I'm left with 1, 2, 3. So I know that that's not the easiest thing to get your head round, but it is going to help us with these calculations later. So I'm going to do another one, and then I'm going to ask you to have a go at this one in a bit. I'll explain it more when I get there. So what could this calculation mean? Well, the positive ones that we've started out with, our total value of this whole set of counters would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then take away 1, so 5 again, then take another 1, so 4. So it's going to be 4, and because we've got a set of 2 pairs here, of positive ones and negative ones, we've got 2 pairs of them. Remember, that whole box is going to still be equal to 0. That's going to show that we're planning to take away a minus 2, because we want to do take away, take away. So when we have a calculation like this, where it's a positive number, take away a minus number, we want to only put the amount of negative counters that we're planning to take away. And here we'd had 1 minus 1 counter. So now I've taken these away, let's see what my calculation is going to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so what I want you to do is have a go at this one. First of all, I just want you to think, what calculation does the counters represent? So I'm going to ask you to pause it, then I'm going to show you what the calculation is, and then I'm going to ask you to pause it again and ask you to finish the calculation. So pause it now and think of this first question here. What calculation does the counters represent? Okay, so hopefully you've had a think of that and you've replayed the video. So this would represent, well, my total value of the counters is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then take away 1, so 3 again. So it's going to be 3, and we've got one pair of numbers. So subtract minus 1, because we've got one pair. Okay, so pause the video, see if you can have a go at that calculation. Okay, hopefully you've had a go at this part. And let's have a go. Well, let me go through it and see if you got the same thing. So we want to take away a minus 1. So I'm going to take away this, and what am I left with? 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer to that is 4. Let's just have a quick go back through these and see if you might have noticed something. 2 subtract minus 1 equals to 3. How else could we use the numbers 2 and 1 to make 3? Well, we could also say 2 plus 1 equals to 3. I'm just going to change my colour, just so you can definitely tell that this is different to my other workings. Okay, so we know that 4 subtract minus 2 equals to 6. How else could you use the numbers 4 and 2 to make 6? You could say 4 plus 2 equals to 6. And we know that 3 subtract minus 1 equals to 4. Well, how else could we use the numbers 3 and 1 to make 4? 3 plus 1 equals to 4. So we're kind of noticing when we have two minuses in the middle, is acting the same as a plus. And that's something that always works when we've got two minuses touching each other in the middle like this. They can act as a plus. And that is because, well, we're taking away a negative number. So that's going to make our number bigger. If we get rid of negatives, you can think of it as weights on a balloon. So I've got my balloon here. I'm going to do it on the left. Or actually, I'm going to make a fresh slide for this. So you can think of this as a balloon, and we've got things holding it up and we've got things pulling it down. The stuff that holds it up are our positive numbers, and the things that weigh it down are our negative numbers. At the moment, this balloon will be balanced because we've got the same amount on the top and bottom. But if I take away a minus 1, take away a weight, what's going to happen to the balloon? It's going to go up. So when I take away a minus 1, it's going to go up by 1, whatever our unit is. And if I add on a -1, well, what's going to happen to the balloon if I add a weight to this balloon? Well, it's going to go down. So you can think of it in the method of our counters, or you can think of it in the method of a balloon with weights. And you always think, well, I'm taking away a negative. What would happen if I was taking off a weight from a balloon? Well, it's going to allow it to fly up. Okay, so that's all I've got for you today.